Hi guys, it's Amy Gable Stitcher here with a special edition Flosstube video for you. Today is November 10th, 2020. And today I am going to show you 6 cross stitch finishes since my last update video in September. At the end, I'm also going to touch base a little bit about what I plan on working on for the rest of this year through the end of December. Just a few projects that I want to focus on. And that's it in this video. But because I have so many things that I fully finished since September, I didn't want to put it in a regular update video. I figured it would be better to have a separate video so it didn't get too long. So 5 fully finished items, which is amazing for me. My friend Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world, decided to have a finishing weekend about a month ago. I want to say it was probably the beginning of October, and she tagged a bunch of us on Instagram. So that was great incentive to pull some of these things that had been stitched and finished for a while, but not fully finished out, and finish them up and get them out on display. So without further ado, let me show you what I did. The first one is something I finished this year. I want to say in probably March or April. Let me come back so you can see it. This is Spooky Countdown by Primitive Hair. And this was a very, very fun stitch. This is in a black frame. I had purchased this frame at Michael's, and it's one of those frames that has 3 holes for 5x7s. And what I did is I pulled off the glass. I actually laced around that mat because I was too lazy to cut mat board. So very lazy finishing. But what I did is I'm gonna put it to the side so you can see it's a little bit puffy. I put some batting over that mat board before I laced it, and I took the glass out of the frame. The frame is a teeny tiny bit too small for this piece, but it's really close and it looks good with a little bit of the puffy look. And I think it's great for a nice seasonal decoration. I really love how the black looks with it. So this I stitched with the called for DMC, and I stitched it on a piece of MCG textile linen. It's 32 count that I coffee and tea dyed myself. I made a few changes when I stitched this. I added some purple because I felt that it really needed purple, because when I think of Halloween, I think of purple. And I also flipped blocks 8 and 7. So this was supposed to be block 8, but I made it block 7, flipped it with a cauldron, and this book is supposed to say spells on it. Instead, I wrote H7G for House of Seven Gables. As many of you know, with my Flosstube and Instagram name being Gable Stitcher, I grew up in Salem, Mass and the surrounding areas, and one of my jobs through college and after was I was a tour guide at the House of Seven Gables in Salem. So I needed to make a little bit of homage to it on block 7 of Spooky Countdown. So I really like the way that came out. It was on display for the last month or so, and I look forward to displaying it again next year. We'll do all the Halloween finishes here. Finish number 2. This is Spooky Halloween, I think is the name of it. Hold it up. This is a Doreen Jones pattern. This was originally a stitch along with Lakeside Linens, but you can now just purchase the pattern as a PDF. And I stitched this last year. I stitched it in October and I finished it right at the beginning of November. So I used the called for threads. It's just black. I used 310. And then it was a couple of the Light Effects threads from DMC. I stitched it on a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. And I Once again, I'm going to hold it like this. You can see it. It's kind of puffy. This has been my new thing now, is putting the batting down on the mat board before I lace, because I'm liking the way that it gives a little texture and dimension to the finishes. And I find it also kind of covers a few flaws in the fabric, if the fabric has any. And I just attached this to a piece of board that I got at one of the craft stores. And I actually did the Priscilla and Chelsea washer attachment. So I can, it's magnets on the board, washes on this, so I can use it for another season and just store the cross stitch part. So that is fully finished item number 2. Fully finished item number 3 is a Prairie Schooler that I also stitched last year. I think I finished it last year too. I don't remember which book this is. It's one of the Halloween ones. I stitched it on a 32 count linen. It's I want to say it's off-white. I don't think it's ivory. And it's a Belfast. And I stitched it with a called for DMC. So it only called for 3371 and then a gray and an orange. And this is a really fun stitch. This has been re-released, this chart, so it is available. And once again, I framed it. I pull it off. This is magneted in. This is a frame that has a galvanized steel back, actually. I put a magnet at the top, and I put a magnet on this. So I can pop it in, display it, and then most of the Prairie Schoolers are about the size. I can pop in another one for a different season and use the same frame. So that is fully finished item number 3. Fully finished item number 4 was a whip in September. I finished it right before Halloween. And this is Pumpkin Ladies by the Little Stitcher. I actually have the pattern right here. So this is from the Little Stitcher. She has an Etsy shop. And I love her aesthetic. I call it creepy cute. So 3 Pumpkin Ladies. And this is the only finish that I'm not ecstatic about, because I'm not sure how I like it in the box. I feel like the box might be too deep, but we just kept it for this Halloween, and maybe I'll redo it next year. So I stitched this on a 46 count linen with the call for DMC, and I also used some Victorian mottos that I subbed in for a little bit of a variegated look. And this is a box that I picked up off at Joann's at the end of Christmas last year. It has a Christmas thing in the back. When things went 90% off, I went to see what I could use to finish. And so what I did is I put a plaid fabric in the back. It says something like ho, ho, ho on it. The plaid fabric you see is actually from the back of one of my husband's shirts. He was going through clothes to donate, and this shirt had a hole in the front, and I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep it because the back of it's really good. And it's this nice plaid. I knew I could use it for finishing. So that's what I did. I put a piece of plaid on a piece of board, popped it in, and then mounted the Pumpkin Ladies on top of it. So there we go. So that was fully finished item number 4. And that was my first project I have ever stitched by the Little Stitcher, but it definitely won't be my last. I really enjoyed stitching that. I did pull out, kept out the flosses I used for it, the Victorian mottos, just so you can see. They added a little bit of variegation, just some nice fall colors. So I just popped them in place of some of the DMC. My last finish, not fully finished, I'll show you this one because it's right here. I stitched Frankenstein with the Stitching Book Club. It is a group on Facebook, And she picks a classic book and has a read along and a stitch along. And the next book I think is A Christmas Carol. So I'm looking forward to that because that's one of my favorites. So this was a stitch along I actually kept up with. So this is complete. This is Frankenstein. Trying to hold it up so you can see it. By the Stitching Book Club. And it was a lot of fun. So I will link her group below. You can still buy the pattern at Sapphire Mountain Handcrafts on Etsy. I can link that too. And I stitched this just on a scrap of fabric. I mean, you can see I've stitched something else on it. And I used a Victorian Motto Old Bronze. And it really gave like a nice, almost like a nice patina to it. So that was fun. I don't know how I'm going to finish this. A lot of people have been starting stitching scrapbooks or journals for things that they want to stitch, but they don't necessarily want to finish or feel the need to finish. So I might do that. I might mount this on a piece of comic book board and put it in a scrapbook because I have a lot of scrapbooks from my old scrapbooking days. I have one or two that haven't been touched, and to put small cross stitches in it. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'll let you know. But that's my current thought. It likely will not end up in a frame. One last finish, fully finish. And this is a big one. This has been sitting on the back of my chair in the dining room for months. I finished it last year, but it had not been framed. So this is the 12 Days of Christmas. I'm trying to do it at an angle so you don't get too much glare. Hold it back. 12 Days of Christmas by Satsuma Street. And it is finally framed. I stitched this with the Called for DMC on 28 count white Monaco, just the stuff in a tube from Michaels. And it was a really fun stitch. This frame is a custom frame, but I bought it from a place online, and you can get the glass with it as well as the pre-cut mat board, which was really nice. So let me pull it in. So let's show you a little bit closer. You can see out my window. There we go. And I should say maybe it's not quite fully finished because my husband does my paper backing and hangers, so he needs to do that. But other than that, it is done. And this, believe it or not, was the hardest one to lace and frame because anything with a straight border is tough to get completely straight. But I'm happy with the way it looks. And now that Halloween will be going away, this will take front and center on my mantle for the season. So those are my finishes, fully finished objects, and I'm really happy that I was able to get so many done in the last few weeks. So I'm going to pause this, I'm going to put them away, and then I'll be back with the projects that I am going to focus on for the rest of 2020. See you in a minute. I'm back. I wanted to touch base about what I plan on stitching for the rest of 2020. Focus on stitching. Every year, about the middle of October, end of October, I start thinking about what I want to complete this year. As far as stitching goes, also usually like house projects, just kind of things that I want to lay to rest, put to bed, so to say, like a garden, you put it to bed at the end of the season before the year is out. And I was looking through my whip list over the last few weeks, and I pulled out a few things that I would like to focus on and hopefully finish at least some of them before the end of this year. And if I don't, I can set them up hopefully for early 2021 finishes. I have zero like plans or grandiose ideas that I will finish all of these in the remaining 6 weeks of the year. This is just what I want to focus on and see how far I get. 2 of them I showed in my video from yesterday, my stitching update video. So I am going to insert pictures here. One of them is the 2019 Linen and Thread Stitch Along. I am stitching the first 10 months of that stitch along. I am not stitching month 11 and 12, which is the outside border. I have about 2.5 months left, maybe 2 months. I have a block and a half and some border. So that is one thing that I am focusing on this year. Another one I also showed in my video from yesterday, and that is the Burgundy Band Sampler from iStitch Designs. I am up to week 21. There are 28 weeks plus a bonus chart in that project. Once again, I do not think I will finish the entire project by next year, but it's something I would like to continue to put work into consistently this year. The next one I'm going to show you is one that I do want to finish because it is a gift. This is a chart I purchased off of Etsy. It's called You Don't Know the Power of the Dark Side. It is no longer available from the seller I bought it from, but there are very similar ones on Etsy if you are interested. So this I am stitching for my middle daughter. She'd wanted it for her birthday this year. Her birthday was in August, so that ship sailed and it obviously did not happen. So I would like to finish this and give it to her for Christmas of this year. I think if it's in a standard size frame, I had measured it when I started it, and I outlined the bottom part, the rest of the wording. So all I need to do is fill in thousands and thousands and thousands of stitches of 310. But I do think that is doable if I spend some time on it, especially if I pull it out while we're watching TV or while stitching online with people. So this is a definitely, I want to finish it this year. Another one I want to focus on, I'm not going to show the project. If you would like to see it, because it is a gift for somebody, you can see my video from yesterday, but it's a very small start at this point. It is, it is Dumpster Fire Friends from Lindy Stitches. It's a small project, and it's something that I would like to finish. It is a gift for a friend. Now, the next three are ones that I plan on working on because they are Christmas whips, and I don't have a lot of Christmas whips. Don't necessarily think I'm going to finish them, but I would like to see some progress on them for the rest of the year. I didn't do a lot of Halloween stitching this year, which is unusual for me. I tend to enjoy seasonal stitching, but I am looking forward to Christmas stitching, even though I wasn't really in the mood for Halloween stitching this year, which is unusual for me. So Nantucket Houses by Hemlock and Rye, who is Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. I have one house done and the second house started. I do need to finish the finish the third house and add the border. So this is something I would like to work on for the rest of the year. And then I have 2 Christmas ornaments started. I gotta say, I was looking through my whip list, and one whip that I had on there, I had no idea where it was, what it was. And it was something that I had written down that I started at the end of last year. And then it hit me. It was my travel project. I typically keep a small project in a little bag, in a tote bag that I keep in the car. And it's what I work on when I'm shuttling kids around to activities and lessons and all that stuff. I haven't left the house since March. I mean, I've left the house, but we have not had an extracurricular activity since March. So I have not used that tote bag or looked in it or gotten this project out since March. So I did pull it out. Let me find it here. It is a Christmas ornament. It is one of those little free projects that comes with the British magazine sometimes. Christmas kit. It's done on plastic canvas, and I'm almost done with it. So it's cute. I outlined most of the areas. What I have left is fill in and backstitch. So will I finish it? I mean, I don't know. Maybe, but it's so close to a finish. I'll pull it out and see. And then I have one other Christmas ornament that I've started. And I think I kind of hosed myself with this one. I had stitched an ornament from the Prairie Schooler as a gift for somebody. I started a second one. I started them too close together. And when I cut the first one off, let me see. So this one I'm working on is here. This is from Prairie Schooler book 48. I don't believe this is reprinted yet. I have heard if you contact Hoffman's and let them know which book you want this request, they'll move them up, because I think they plan on reprinting all the Prairie Schoolers. So don't pay like crazy amounts of money for anything. So, but anyways, I started this. I started it too close to the ornament I pulled off to finish. And so, like, I don't know. So I might finish it. I think I have enough to maybe make it into a pillow. It'll be close. It'll be just for me, so it doesn't really matter. So I may, or it may end up a UFO. But while I was pulling out my Christmas whips, I pulled that out. And I plan on having one start. And you're like, Amy, you just started some things and you're trying to finish. Why are you going to start? I'm going to start because I'm borrowing a chart. So I have borrowed this chart. It's an out of print Birds of a Feather called Happy Hearts. Love it. I borrowed this from Shelly Kieck Stitcher. She was very nice to lend it to me, and I would like to get it back to her. So if she would like, she can lend it to somebody else. And if not, she has it because it is an out of print chart. So I have had it for a little bit and I haven't started it, and I really need to start it. So I have pulled some fabric, and I have a bunch of the called fors. So that is my only start I plan on for the rest of the year. Plans can be changed. We've talked about this before, but do need to start this. So that is my only start I have planned. So as I said, plans change. I may or may not finish any of those or all of them, but I do like to, like I said, at the end of the year, this time of year, I start to feel like, what can I work on and knock off the plate or set up for an early finish for next year? And I just always feel that way in the fall. So those are my plans of what I plan on stitching on for the most part over the next 6 to 8 weeks. So that's it. Thank you for visiting with me twice in a week. And I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying your stitching. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave a comment down below. I hope you're all doing well. And for any military families or people who are watching me, thank you for your service. Tomorrow is Veterans Day in the United States. And that's it. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Have a great day, people. Talk to you later.